She compared my brick-stained hands to her stepfather's luxury lifestyle at her birthday. The table went silent when I handed her an envelope. What came next exposed years of his lies, stolen money, and a fraud that would destroy him. Sometimes the strongest foundations aren't built with money. My name is Robert Callahan, but everyone calls me Rob. I'm 59 years old, and I've spent the last 35 years working with my hands. I'm a mason, a bricklayer, the guy who builds the stone fences and brick facades that people drive by and never think twice about. My back aches most mornings, my knees sound like gravel when I stand up, and my hands are so calloused I can barely feel smooth surfaces anymore. But I take pride in my work. Every wall I build will outlast me by a century. Every stone I set tells a story of permanence in a world that's forgotten what that word means. Jessica turned 21 last Thursday. My daughter, my only child, the girl I used to carry on my shoulders through hardware stores, who'd fall asleep in the truck on the way home from job sites, who once made me a Father's Day card out of sandpaper because she said it reminded her of my hands. That was 15 years ago. Feels like a different lifetime now. The restaurant was her choice. Some upscale Italian place downtown, where the cheapest entree costs what I make in half a day. The kind of place with cloth napkins and waiters who introduce themselves like they're auditioning for something. Linda, my ex-wife, was already seated when I arrived. She looked different, polished in a way she never bothered with when we were married. Hair highlighted, nails done, wearing jewelry I definitely didn't buy her. Next to her sat Kyle Thornton, her husband of 3 years. He wore a suit that probably cost more than my truck payment, and his smile had that practiced quality of someone who sells things for a living. He manages a luxury car dealership, the kind where they serve you champagne while you browse and act like a $50,000 price tag is a reasonable conversation starter. Jessica arrived last, making an entrance like she'd rehearsed it. Designer dress, new heels, hair done up in a way that must have taken hours and probably cost what I charged for a day's work. Kyle stood up first, all theatrical like he was waiting for this moment. He handed her a small velvet box with a silver ribbon. "Happy birthday, sweetheart," Kyle said, his voice smooth as the leather interiors he pedals. She opened it right there, fingers trembling with anticipation. Car keys. Not just any keys, but keys to a pearl-white BMW with a red bow on the hood parked outside where everyone walking by could see it through the floor-to-ceiling windows. Jessica squealed. Actually squealed like she was on some game show. She threw her arms around Kyle's neck while Linda beamed with this proud smile, and the other diners turned to watch the spectacle. I sat there with the small wrapped box in my jacket pocket, suddenly feeling like I'd brought a pocket knife to a sword fight. The gift I'd brought was a stone address plaque I'd carved by hand. Her new apartment number, surrounded by a border pattern I'd copied from a photo of her grandmother's garden. Limestone, smooth and warm. It had taken me 3 weekends of careful work, measuring twice and cutting once, the way my father taught me. I didn't take it out of my pocket. Dinner arrived on oversized white plates with portions that wouldn't fill a working man's stomach. Jessica picked at her pasta while scrolling through her phone, probably already posting pictures of the BMW to every platform she had accounts on. Linda and Kyle talked about their upcoming cruise to the Mediterranean like it was casual dinner conversation, not a vacation that cost more than I made in 6 months. I cut into my steak and stayed quiet. That's what I'd learned to do over the years. Show up, smile when appropriate, and don't remind anyone that the money keeping Jessica in that expensive apartment came from my bank account every month, not Kyle's dealership commissions. "So, Rob," Kyle said, leaning back in his chair with that confident posture of his. "Jessica tells me you're still doing the bricklaying thing. That's admirable, really. Honest work." The way he said honest work made it sound like charity. "Someone's out to build the walls," I replied, keeping my tone even. Jessica looked up from her phone, and I saw something flicker across her face. Embarrassment, maybe, like my profession was something she had to explain away at her college parties. "Dad does fences and stuff," she said quickly, like she was trying to move past the subject. Nothing too complicated. Nothing too complicated. I just finished a restoration project on a historical building downtown, matching 100-year-old brickwork, so precisely you couldn't tell old from new. But sure, nothing complicated. Kyle smiled. "Well, there's certainly a market for that kind of labor. Blue-collar work keeps the world running, right? Labor, not craftsmanship, not artistry. Labor." Linda touched Kyle's arm, laughing. "Honey, you make it sound so simple." I'm sure what Rob does is very difficult. Oh, I'm sure it is, Kyle agreed, but his tone said otherwise. It's just different from what we do. Less strategy, more physical effort. Nothing wrong with that. Jessica set down her fork. Actually, Dad, I've been meaning to talk to you about something. She glanced at Kyle, then back at me. Kyle's offered to help me with my resume. He knows people in marketing, real careers, not just manual labor. There it was. Not just manual labor. The waiter refilled water glasses. Conversations at nearby tables continued. But at our table, something had shifted. Jessica, I said quietly, setting down my knife. Do you know what I do? She blinked. You lay bricks and build walls. I create permanence. I corrected. I build structures that'll stand longer than any of us will be alive. I restore history. I take raw materials and turn them into something that matters. Kyle chuckled. Well, when you put it that way. I wasn't finished. I interrupted, my voice still calm, but carrying weight now. I turned to Jessica. You know that brick pathway in front of your grandmother's house? The one you used to draw chalk flowers on when you were 6? I built that. The stone fireplace in the cabin where we spent every summer? I built that too. With these hands. I held up my scarred, calloused hands. Jessica shifted in her seat, uncomfortable now. And you know what? I continued. Those things will still be standing when Kyle's car dealership closes down, when the luxury market shifts, when the next economic crisis hits, and people stop buying $50,000 status symbols. Dad, I didn't mean. Yes, you did, I said. Then I looked directly at her, my voice dropping to something colder. You compared me to your mother's new husband right here at this dinner table. You made it very clear what you think of my work, my life, everything I've built. And the next thing I'm going to say will make this entire table go silent. Kyle straightened in his chair. Linda's smile froze. Jessica's eyes went wide. I reached into my jacket pocket and pulled out a sealed envelope. Not the gift. Something else I prepared last week after seeing one too many social media posts thanking Kyle for everything. I slid it across the table to Jessica. Open it, I said. Her hands trembled slightly as she tore the envelope. Inside was a single sheet of paper. A letter, typed and formal. She read it once. Then again. Her face went pale. You're cutting me off? Your tuition payments end this semester, I confirmed. Consider it my graduation gift. You're an adult now. Time to build your own life. The table went absolutely silent. Jessica stared at the letter like it might change if she looked long enough. Her mouth opened, closed, opened again. No words came out, just this strangled sound that might have been the beginning of a protest. You can't be serious, she finally managed, her voice climbing an octave. This is my education, my future. Then I suggest you start taking it seriously. I replied, keeping my tone level. Because I'm done funding a degree you're coasting through while posting party photos every weekend. Kyle cleared his throat, trying to reclaim control of the situation. Rob, come on. This is extreme. She's your daughter. You can't just abandon her because your feelings got hurt. I turned to him slowly. I'm not abandoning anyone. I'm teaching her something you've never bothered to teach her. That nothing in this life is guaranteed just because you show up and smile pretty. Dad, please. Jessica's voice had shifted now. Less attitude and more panic. I didn't mean anything by what I said. It was just a joke. Was it? I asked. Because here's what I know. You spent the last 3 years letting Kyle play father while I wrote checks. You thanked him for your spring break trip to Cancun that I paid for. You posted about how he believes in your dreams while cashing the tuition money I transferred every semester. You call my life's work nothing too complicated while living in an apartment I'm covering rent on. Linda found her voice, sharp and defensive. Robert, you're being childish. She's 21. Young people say things they don't mean. Then maybe it's time she learns that words have consequences, I said. I stood up, pulled out my wallet, and laid down $300 bills on the table. That covers my meal and Jessica's. The rest of dinner is on you too. Kyle's face reddened. You're really doing this? Over some perceived slight. It's not perceived, I corrected. It's pretty damn clear. My daughter just told me in public that my life's work is less valuable than your ability to sell overpriced cars to people trying to impress their neighbors. So yeah, I'm really doing this. Jessica grabbed my arm as I turned to leave. Dad, wait. Can we talk about this? Just us. I looked down at her hand on my sleeve, at the manicured nails that probably cost $40 to maintain, at the bracelet Kyle had given her last Christmas. "We can talk," I said, "when you're ready to hear what I have to say instead of just waiting for your turn to make excuses." I walked out of that restaurant with my head up and my shoulders back. Behind me, I could hear Jessica's voice rising, the scrape of chairs, Linda saying something sharp. I didn't turn around. The night air hit my face, cool and clean. My truck sat in the parking lot between Kyle's Mercedes and some banker's Lexus. Dented, scratched, engine older than Jessica, but paid off and reliable. I climbed in, started it up, and sat there for a moment, hands on the wheel. My phone buzzed. A text from Jessica. "You're ruining my birthday." I typed back, "You did that yourself." Then I drove home. The first call came at 6 the next morning. Linda, her voice sharp enough to cut glass. "What the hell were you thinking?" she demanded before I could even say hello. "Jessica's been crying all night." "All night, Robert." I was already in my work clothes, coffee brewing in the kitchen. "Good morning to you too. Don't you dare act casual about this. You humiliated her in public. You ruined her birthday over nothing." "Over nothing." I set down my mug harder than I meant to. She compared me to Kyle like I was some kind of failure. Call my career nothing complicated. That's not nothing, Linda. She's 21. She doesn't know any better. Then maybe someone should teach her, I said. And since you've been too busy playing perfect family with Kyle, I guess that falls to me. Linda went quiet for a moment. When she spoke again, her voice was colder. "You know what this is really about? You're jealous. Kyle gives her things you can't afford, takes her places you never could, and you can't stand it." That one landed, but I didn't let her hear it. "I put her through 3 years of college, Linda. 3 years of tuition at 18 grand a semester while you were getting your hair done and taking Mediterranean cruises. Don't talk to me about what I can't afford. That's your responsibility as a father. And respect is her responsibility as a daughter." I shot back. "But she doesn't seem to think so. Neither do you, apparently." "So what? You're just going to cut her off completely? Let her fail. I'm going to let her learn what it means to earn something," I corrected. "She want Kyle's life? Let Kyle fund it. See how generous he is when it's his bank account taking the hit." I could hear Linda breathing on the other end, could picture her pacing in that big house Kyle bought, the one with the stone exterior I'd consulted on before she left me. "She needs help, Robert. Real help. The tuition is due in 3 weeks. Then I suggest she gets a job," I said, "or takes out loans like millions of other students do. Or asks her stepfather, the one she thinks is so much more impressive than her real father." "You're punishing her for being honest." "No," I said quietly. "I'm punishing her for being cruel. There's a difference." Linda hung up without another word. 2 minutes later, Jessica called. I let it go to voicemail. Then she called again. And again. The 4th time, I answered. "Dad, please." She was crying now, really crying. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean it. Any of it." "Which part didn't you mean?" I asked. "The part where you called my work uncomplicated? Or the part where you've been letting Kyle play dad while I bankroll your life?" He's nice to me. He doesn't make everything so hard." "That's because he's not raising you," I said. "He's buying you. There's a difference, Jessica. One you're about to learn." "What do I do?" Her voice was small now, desperate. "The bursar's office sent an email. They need payment by the 15th, or I can't register for next semester." "Figure it out," I said. "You're smart. You're resourceful. You got Kyle's connections, remember?" "Dad, don't do this." "I already did it," I replied. "Now you get to decide what comes next." I hung up, turned off my phone, grabbed my keys, and headed to the job site where a historical church needed its front steps restored. Work I could understand. Work that made sense. Work where the stones didn't talk back or forget what you built for them. 3 days passed in silence. Jessica called 17 times. Linda left voicemails that ranged from angry to pleading. Kyle sent a text offering to mediate, like we were business partners in a dispute. I ignored all of it and focused on work. The church restoration was meticulous, demanding work. Matching mortar from 1887 required precision most modern contractors wouldn't bother with. But I bothered. That's what separated craftsmen from contractors. Every stone mattered. Every detail counted. On Thursday evening, Jessica showed up at my house unannounced. I heard her car in the driveway, that BMW Kyle bought her, engine purring like it was too good for my gravel lot. I was in my workshop out back, sanding down a wooden frame I'd built for the stone address plaque I never gave her. She knocked on the workshop door, tentative. Not the confident bang of someone used to getting their way, but something smaller, uncertain. "It's open," I called out without looking up. She stepped inside, and I could see she'd been crying. Not fresh tears, but the kind of exhaustion that comes from days of them. Her hair was pulled back in a messy ponytail, no makeup, wearing college sweatpants and one of my old work shirts she must have stolen years ago. "Dad," she said quietly, "can we talk?" I set down the sandpaper and gestured to the stool across from my workbench. She sat, hands folded in her lap like a child waiting to be scolded. "I've been trying to reach you," she started. "I know. I'm sorry. Really sorry. I was awful at dinner. I said terrible things and I hurt you, and I'm sorry." I studied her face, looking for the truth beneath the apology. She looked exhausted, defeated even, but was it genuine or just desperation? "Jessica," I said carefully, "do you know why I'm really cutting you off?" "Because I embarrassed you," she answered immediately. "No." I shook my head. "Because you don't know what I've sacrificed. You don't know what I've done. And you don't know what Kyle really is." She blinked. "What do you mean?" I walked to my workbench, opened the bottom drawer, and pulled out a manila folder. Thick, worn at the edges, stuffed with papers. I'd kept it for years, telling myself it was just organization, but deep down I knew why I really saved everything. I dropped on the table between us. "What's this?" she asked. "Open it." Her fingers trembled as she untied the string holding it closed. Inside were receipts, bank statements, tuition payment confirmations, emails, years of documentation. She pulled out the first page. A tuition receipt from her freshman year. $18,400. Paid in full by Robert Callahan. "I know you paid for school," she said defensively. "Keep looking." The next document was a credit card statement showing a charge for spring break accommodations in Cancun. The one she'd thanked Kyle for in a social media post filled with heart emojis. "I paid for that," I said quietly. "You were 18. Wanted to go with your sorority sisters. Linda said she couldn't afford it. Kyle told you he'd handle it. He never sent a dime." Jessica's hand shook as she flipped through more pages. Flight receipts for family vacations she thought Kyle funded. The down payment for her first car before the BMW. Monthly apartment rent payments. Her emergency dental work last year when she broke a tooth. Even her sorority dues. "I don't understand," she whispered. "Kyle is good at one thing," I said. "Looking generous with other people's money. He'd tell you he was taking care of something. Then Linda would call me, and I'd wire the funds. He'd take the credit. I'd take the invoice." She looked up at me, eyes wide. "Why would Mom let him do that?" "Because appearances matter to her," I replied. "She wanted you to see him as successful, as a provider." Meanwhile, I was picking up overtime shifts and canceling my own health insurance to keep you in that expensive school. Jessica set down the folder like it had caught fire. "You canceled your health insurance?" 3 years ago, I confirmed. "Same year you posted about how Kyle believed in your dreams. I couldn't afford both your tuition and my premiums, so I chose. Guess which one I picked?" Tears started rolling down her face now, real ones. "Dad, I didn't know." "You didn't ask," I said, not unkindly. "And that's the problem, Jessica. You didn't ask because it was easier to believe the story Kyle was selling. The successful stepfather, the struggling biological father. Clean narrative. No complications." "Does Kyle know you paid for all this?" she asked. "Of course he knows," I said. "Who do you think Linda called when the bills came due?" She stood up abruptly, pacing the small workshop. "This whole time, he's been lying to me." "Not lying," I corrected. "Just not correcting your assumptions. There's a difference. Legally speaking, anyway." Jessica stopped pacing, turned to face me. "Well, don't I know?" I pulled out another document from the folder. This one was older, from 6 years ago. A bank statement showing a series of transfers, all from Linda's account to Kyle's. "What am I looking at?" Jessica asked. "Your mother's been moving money around," I explained. "See these transfers? They're from a joint account Linda and I never officially closed after the divorce. I left $23,000 in there for emergencies, for you if something happened. About 4 years ago, Linda started withdrawing it in small amounts. 500 here, 1,000 there. All of it went straight to Kyle." Jessica's face went pale. "She stole from you?" "Technically, it was a joint account," I said. "My lawyer says I don't have much recourse." But morally? Yeah. She took money meant for your future and gave it to a man who drives a leased Mercedes and pretends it's paid off. I think I'm going to be sick, Jessica muttered. There's more, I said, pulling out the final document. But this one you need to sit down for. She sat. I handed her a background check report. Official, detailed, expensive. I'd paid a private investigator 3 months ago, right after Jessica posted another glowing tribute to Kyle on Father's Day. What is this? She asked, not opening it yet. Kyle Thornton's real financial situation, I said. He's not successful, Jessica. He's drowning. That dealership he manages? He doesn't own it. He's a salaried employee who's been under investigation for falsifying sales records. He owes $60,000 in credit card debt, another $40,000 in personal loans, and he's 3 months behind on the lease for that Mercedes. Jessica opened the report, scanned the pages, her face going from pale to ashen. The house he and your mother live in. I continued. Second mortgage. They're underwater. That boat he bought last summer, repossessed 2 months ago. Kyle Thornton is a con artist, sweetheart, and your mother either doesn't know or doesn't care. She looked up at me, devastated. Why didn't you tell me sooner? Would you have believed me? I asked simply. She didn't answer, because we both knew the truth. She wouldn't have. Not until this moment. Not until she saw the proof stacked in front of her, undeniable and documented. What do I do? She asked, voice barely a whisper. That's up to you, I said. But Jessica, you need to understand something. I'm not cutting you off to punish you. I'm cutting you off because it's the only way you'll ever stand on your own feet. The only way you'll stop looking for men like Kyle to save you. She nodded slowly, clutching the folder to her chest like a shield against everything she'd just learned. Jessica stayed in my workshop for 2 more hours that night, reading through every document in the folder. She didn't say much, just occasional gasps or whispered curses as she uncovered another layer of Kyle's deception. When she finally left, she hugged me at the door. Not the performative half hug from the restaurant, but a real one, the kind she used to give me when she was small and scared of thunderstorms. I'm going to fix this, she said into my shoulder. Fix yourself first, I replied. The rest will follow. The next day, all hell broke loose. Jessica confronted Linda and Kyle at their house. I wasn't there, but Jessica called me afterward, her voice shaking with adrenaline and fury. I showed Mom the bank statements, Jessica said. The transfers from your joint account. She tried to deny it at first, said it was for household expenses. Then I asked why household expenses went directly to Kyle's personal account. What did she say? I asked. She didn't. Kyle did. Started talking about investments, opportunities, how he was trying to build something for a family. I asked him about the repossessed boat. He went silent. And your mother? She got defensive. Said I was being manipulated by you. That you've always been jealous of Kyle's success. I showed her the background check. Dad, her face just collapsed. I could picture it. Linda's carefully constructed world crumbling like a sand castle at high tide. She's kicking him out, Jessica continued. Right now. She's packing his stuff and changing the locks. He's trying to talk his way out of it, but she's not listening. I've never seen her like this. Good, I said simply. There's something else. Jessica's voice dropped. Kyle got angry when he realized he was losing. He said some things. About me. My hand tightened on the phone. What kind of things? He called me a spoiled brat. Said I was ungrateful. Said the only reason he put up with me was because it kept Mom happy and the money flowing. She paused. Then he said something about how I wasn't even worth the investment. Red crept into my vision. Where is he now? Still at the house. Mom called the police. They're making him leave. I'm coming over, I said, already grabbing my keys. Dad, don't. It's handled. The cops are here. I'm not going there to fight, I said, though part of me wanted to. I'm going there to make sure he understands something very clearly. 20 minutes later, I pulled up to Linda's house. 2 police cruisers were parked in the driveway. Kyle was on the front lawn, arguing with one of the officers while another stood between him and the door. Linda was visible through the window, on the phone, probably calling a lawyer. I got out of my truck and walked straight toward Kyle. The officer held up a hand. Sir, this is a domestic situation. I need you to stay back. I'm the girl's father, I said calmly, nodding toward Jessica who stood on the porch. I'm not here to cause problems. Kyle saw me, and his face twisted with anger. Oh, perfect. The hero arrives. Come to gloat, Rob. No, I said, stopping a few feet away. I came to tell you something man to man. The officer looked uncertain, but didn't intervene. I looked Kyle dead in the eyes. You call my daughter an investment, like she was a stock portfolio that didn't perform. I want you to understand that if you ever speak to her again, if you ever contact her, if I even see your name on her phone, I will spend every dollar I am making sure every dealership in this state knows exactly what kind of man you are. Kyle laughed bitterly. You think you can threaten me? I've got connections, friends in high places. And I've got documentation, I replied. Every fake sale, every forged signature, every loan you took out in Linda's name without telling her. My lawyer has copies. My accountant has copies. And if you push me, the state attorney general will have copies. The laughter died. Kyle's face went from red to white. Stay away from my daughter, I said quietly. That's not a threat. That's a promise. The officer stepped between us. All right, that's enough. Sir, you need to clear out, he said to Kyle, then to me, and you need to leave this to us. I nodded, turned, and walked to Jessica. She looked at me with something I hadn't seen in years. Respect. Let's go home, I said. She followed me to my truck without looking back. Jessica moved back into my house 2 days later. Not because I offered, but because she asked. That meant something. She showed up with 3 suitcases and a determination I hadn't seen in years. I got a job, she announced, dropping her bags in the hallway. Retail. It's not glamorous, but it pays $12 an hour and they'll work around my class schedule. What about tuition? I asked. I'm taking out loans, she said. Federal ones. I'll figure it out. I'm not asking Kyle for anything, and I'm not asking you to bail me out. I nodded, respecting the decision, even if it meant she'd graduate with debt. Some lessons cost money. This one was worth it. The first week was rough. Jessica worked 30 hours while carrying 15 credit hours. She'd come home exhausted, feet aching, complaining about difficult customers, and standing all day. But she kept showing up, kept pushing through. One evening, I was in the workshop finishing a custom stone fountain for a client when Jessica appeared in the doorway. Can I help? She asked. I looked up surprised. With what? Whatever you're doing. I want to learn. I gestured to the workbench. You ever cut stone before? No, but you can teach me. So I did. I showed her how to measure, how to mark, how to use the wet saw safely. Her first cuts were shaky, imprecise. But she listened, adjusted, tried again. By the end of the night, her hands were scraped and dusty, but she'd successfully cut 3 pieces that fit together perfectly. This is harder than it looks, she admitted, examining her work. Everything worth doing is, I replied. She came back the next night, and the night after that. Slowly, she started understanding what I'd been trying to tell her all along. That work done with your hands, with care and precision, had its own dignity. Then came the Sunday afternoon when everything shifted again. We were at a church barbecue, one of those community events where everyone brings a dish and pretends to like potato salad from people whose kitchens they've never seen. Jessica was helping set up tables when a woman approached me. Rob Callahan? She asked. She was maybe 30, professional looking, carrying a leather portfolio. That's me. I confirmed. I'm Amanda Pierce. I run an architectural restoration firm downtown. I've been following your work on the St. Mary's project. That brick matching is extraordinary. Thank you, I said, caught off guard. I wanted to talk to you about a job. Amanda continued. We're restoring the old courthouse, and we need someone who understands historical masonry. The pay is significant, and it's a 2-year contract. Are you interested? Jessica appeared at my elbow, listening intently. How significant? I asked carefully. Amanda named a figure that made my stomach flip. Triple my normal rate, full benefits, and a completion bonus that would wipe out every debt I carried. I need to see the scope of work, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. But yes, I'm very interested. Excellent. I'll have my office send over the details. Amanda shook my hand and walked away. Jessica grabbed my arm. Dad, did she just offer you what I think she offered you? I think so, I replied, still processing. That's amazing. That's huge. Jessica's excitement was genuine, unfiltered. Then her face fell slightly. Wait, does this mean you could have paid my tuition easily this whole time? No, I said honestly. This opportunity came up because of the church work I've been doing. Work I only got because I had time to take it on. If I'd been working overtime to cover your expenses, I'd have never had the bandwidth for this project. She absorbed that, understanding dawning. So by cutting me off, you actually help yourself. And you, I added. Look at you now. Working, learning, standing on your own feet. Would you have done any of that if I kept writing checks? Jessica shook her head slowly. Probably not. Then maybe everything worked out the way it needed to, I said. That night, Jessica came into the workshop where I was reviewing Amanda's contract details. I need to tell you something, she said, sitting across from me. Kyle's been texting me. My jaw tightened. What's he saying? That he wants to explain? That mom's overreacting. That he can prove you forged those documents. She held up her phone. I blocked him after the third message, but I wanted you to know. Good, I said. He's desperate. Desperate people say desperate things. There's more, Jessica continued. I talked to some of Mom's friends. Apparently, this isn't the first time. Kyle had another family before us. Different state, same pattern. Big promises, bigger debts. Then he disappeared when it collapsed. You check that out? I asked. Already did. Found court records, bankruptcy filings, restraining orders. Dad, he's done this before. Multiple times. I sat back, processing. Your mother know? I sent her the documents. She hasn't responded. Jessica's voice hardened. But I'm done protecting her feelings. She chose him over reality. Now she gets to live with it. Be careful with that anger, I warned gently. It'll eat you up if you let it. Aren't you angry? She asked. After everything he did? I admitted. But anger's like carrying a hot coal. You're the one who gets burned. I'd rather build something than stay mad about what got torn down. Jessica nodded, absorbing the wisdom. Then she smiled slightly. When did you get so philosophical? Around the time my daughter started listening, I replied. 3 weeks later, the courthouse restoration project officially began. The scope was massive, 40,000 square feet of historical masonry, some dating back to 1891. Every stone had to be documented, assessed, and either restored or replaced with period-accurate materials. Amanda Pierce's firm set me up with a team of apprentices, young guys eager to learn traditional techniques. For the first time in years, I wasn't just a mason. I was a master craftsman, teaching the next generation. Jessica noticed the change in me. You seem different, she observed one evening. How so? I asked. Lighter. Like you're not carrying something heavy anymore. She was right. Letting go of the financial burden, the resentment, the need to prove myself had freed up space for something better. Purpose. The money from the courthouse contract was substantial. After the first payment cleared, I did something I've been thinking about for weeks. I called my lawyer, Paul Anderson, the same man who'd helped draft Jessica's tuition termination letter. Paul, I said when he answered, remember that foundation idea we discussed? The Trade School Scholarship Fund. The Jack Callahan Memorial Fund, he confirmed. Named after your father? That's the one. I want to set it up. Properly. With real money behind it. How much are we talking? Paul asked. $50,000 to start, I said, with plans to add more annually. I wanted to help kids who can't afford college, but have the aptitude for skilled trades. Carpentry, masonry, plumbing, electrical work. The jobs that actually build things. Paul was quiet for a moment. Rob, that's incredible. Your father would be proud. That's the idea, I replied. Jessica was in the kitchen when I hung up. She heard the whole conversation. You're giving away $50,000? She asked, stunned. I'm investing it, I corrected. In kids who remind me of myself at 18. Kids who work with their hands and get told it's not good enough. Maybe this helps them see differently. What about me? She asked, and for a second I thought she was asking for the money. Then she continued, can I be involved? In the foundation? I could help with applications, interviews, maybe even fundraising. I studied her face, seeing genuine interest. You want to do that? I want to help, she said simply. You've shown me what real work looks like. Maybe I can help show other people. All right, I agreed. But understand, this isn't a resume builder. This is real work, real responsibility. I know, Jessica said. That's why I want to do it. 2 days later, Linda called. First time we'd spoken since the restaurant disaster. Jessica told me about the foundation. She said, her voice careful. Did she? I kept my tone neutral. It's a good thing you're doing, Robert. Generous. It's not about generosity, I replied. It's about legacy. Something that matters more than money. Silence on the line. Then, quietly, Kyle's gone. Left 3 days ago. took what he could carry, and disappeared. Police have a warrant out for fraud. I'm sorry, I said, and meant it. Not for Kyle's departure, but for what Linda had lost believing in him. No, you're not, she said, but without anger. You try to warn me. I didn't listen. What will you do? I asked. Sell the house. Pay off what I can. Start over, I guess. She paused. Jessica says she's doing well. Working, going to school. She sounds different. She's different, I confirmed. She's growing up. Because you cut her off, Linda said. I thought you were being cruel. But maybe you were being a father. Maybe, I agreed. The foundation, Linda continued. If you need help, administrative work or something, I used to be good at that. Before I got distracted by appearances. It was an olive branch, small but real. I'll keep that in mind, I said. When I hung up, Jessica was standing in the doorway. Was that Mom? Yeah. How is she? Surviving, I said. Learning. Same as you. Jessica crossed the workshop and hugged me. Thank you, Dad, for not giving up on me, even when I deserved it. I never gave up, I said. I just changed tactics. She pulled back, smiling through tears. Well, your tactics worked. I'm sorry it took me so long to see it. You're seeing it now, I replied. That's what matters. 8 months passed like water, finding its level. The courthouse restoration progressed ahead of schedule, earning praise from the Historical Society and attention from preservation groups across the state. My team worked like a well-oiled machine, and the apprentices I trained were becoming craftsmen in their own right. The Jack Callahan Memorial Fund held its first scholarship ceremony on a Saturday in April. We'd rented space at the community center, nothing fancy, but clean and dignified. 15 recipients, all kids heading into trade programs, plumbing, electrical work, carpentry, masonry, welding. Jessica had coordinated everything. Invitations, catering, the display board showing each recipient's story. She'd thrown herself into the foundation work with an intensity that surprised me. I stood at the podium looking out at the crowd. Parents, teachers, local business owners who donated. In the front row sat Jessica, Linda beside her. My ex-wife had volunteered to help with administrative work, and to her credit, she'd been reliable, professional, present in a way she hadn't been in years. My father, Jack Callahan, used to say that a man's worth isn't measured by what he owns, but by what he builds. I began. Not just buildings or walls, but character, skill, legacy. These 15 young people are here because they understand that. Because they're willing to work with their hands and their hearts to create something lasting. I called each recipient forward, shook their hands, presented them with a check and a handmade stone plaque I'd carved myself. Each one unique, each one bearing their name and the fund's motto, build your future. The last recipient was an 18-year-old named Danny Orozco. His application essay had gutted me. Raised by a single mother, worked 2 jobs through high school, wanted to become a mason like his grandfather. When I handed him his scholarship, his mother started crying in the audience. Thank you, sir, Danny said, voice shaking. This changes everything for my family. You earned it, I replied. Now go build something that matters. After the ceremony, people mingled over coffee and cookies. Jessica appeared at my elbow with a young woman in tow. Dad, this is Rachel Foster. She's a reporter for the newspaper. She wants to do a story about the foundation. Rachel extended her hand. Mr. Callahan, what you're doing here is remarkable. In an age where everyone pushes college as the only path, you're investing in skilled trades. What? Because college isn't for everyone, I said. But that doesn't mean those kids don't deserve a future. Skilled trades built this country. They'll rebuild it too, if we give them a chance. Can I quote you on that? Rachel asked, already scribbling notes. Quote away, I said. Linda approached as Rachel walked off. That was a good speech, Robert. Your father would have been proud. Thanks, I said, meaning it. Jessica told me you're starting a second round of scholarships in the fall. 20 recipients this time. If the funding holds, I confirmed. The courthouse contract's paying well. I'm funneling a percentage straight into the foundation. Linda smiled, something genuine in it. You were always better at seeing the long game than I was. I chased shiny things. You built foundations. We all make choices, I said simply. I made bad ones, she admitted. Kyle, the house, pushing Jessica toward appearances instead of substance. I'm sorry, Robert. For all of it. It was the first real apology she'd ever given me. We both made mistakes, Linda. What matters is what comes next. She nodded, then glanced at Jessica, who was laughing with Danny's mother. She's different now. Stronger. She always was strong, I replied. She just needed to remember it. 1 year after the birthday dinner that changed everything, Jessica graduated from college. Not with honors. Her grades had suffered during the transition from privilege to independence, but she graduated. On time. Debt manageable. Pride intact. The ceremony was outdoors, unseasonably warm for May. I sat in the bleachers watching graduates file past in their caps and gowns. When they called Jessica's name, she walked across that stage with her head high, diploma in hand, future uncertain, but entirely her own. Afterward, we gathered at my house for a small celebration. Just family and close friends. No expensive restaurant. No performances. Just burgers on the grill and beer in a cooler. Jessica found me in the workshop where I was putting finishing touches on a gift I'd made for her. The stone address plaque from her 21st birthday, the one that had stayed in my pocket that awful night. I'd finally finished it. I made this for you a year ago, I said, handing it to her. Figured now was the right time. She ran her fingers over the carved numbers, the border pattern copied from her grandmother's garden. Her eyes filled with tears. It's beautiful, Dad. It's yours, I said, for wherever you end up. A reminder that you come from people who build things that last. I'm not going far, she said. I got a job. Local nonprofit. They help kids aging out of foster care find career paths. I'll be coordinating their trades program. That's perfect for you, I said, genuinely pleased. It doesn't pay much, she admitted, but it matters. That's worth more than a big salary. Sounds like something I would say, I replied with a smile. I learned from the best, she said, hugging me tight. Later, as the sun set and people started heading home, Jessica pulled out her phone and showed me something. Her social media, which I rarely looked at. The post was a photo of her holding the stone plaque, covered in dust from the workshop. The caption read, 1 year ago today, my father cut me off financially, and I thought my life was over. Turns out, it was just beginning. Thanks, Dad, for teaching me that real wealth isn't what you have. It's what you build with your own hands. Grateful for second chances and hard lessons. The comments were filled with support, understanding, people sharing their own stories of humility and growth. You posted that? I asked, surprised. I wanted people to know, she said. That being wrong doesn't mean staying wrong. That pride can cost you everything, but humility gives it back. I didn't know what to say, so I just pulled her into another hug. 3 months later, the courthouse restoration was complete. The mayor held a dedication ceremony, praising the craftsmanship and attention to detail. My name was on a bronze plaque in the lobby, masonry restoration by Robert Callahan and team. Jessica stood next to me at the unveiling, her hand in mine. You built something that'll last centuries, she said, looking up at the restored facade. We both did, I replied. Just different things. The Jack Callahan Memorial Fund awarded its second round of scholarships that fall. 23 recipients this time, including 3 young women entering traditionally male trades. The fund had grown beyond anything I'd imagined, fueled by donations from local businesses and individuals who believed in the mission. And Jessica, my daughter who'd once been embarrassed by my calloused hands, became the foundation's director. She ran it with passion and precision, treating each application like it mattered, because it did. One evening, working side by side in the workshop, teaching her advanced stone-cutting techniques, she stopped and looked at me. I almost lost this, didn't I? She said. This relationship, this knowledge, everything that actually matters. Almost, I agreed. But you didn't. You chose differently. Because you made me, she said. No, I corrected. I gave you a choice. You made it yourself. That's the difference. She smiled and went back to work, her hands steady, her cuts precise, learning the trade that had once seemed beneath her and now gave her purpose. That's the thing about foundations. You build them strong, weather the storms, and if you're lucky, they support something beautiful for generations to come.